Good morning, and welcome to the Supplier Diversity session. Please welcome AJ Stewart, Manager, Membership and Supplier Diversity, Canada's LGBTQ+ Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. My name is AJ Stewart. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the Manager of Supplier Diversity and Membership at Canada's LGBT+ Chamber of Commerce. And it's a pleasure to join you all today. Thank you so much for being here, and I just want to say a big welcome to the over 100 people joining us virtually today as well. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the Cglcc is located in Titkarunto, or what is now known as Toronto. We acknowledge that we are located on Turtle Island. This land that we live and work has been the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Métis, the Mississaugas, the Seneca, and many other nations expanding beyond these groups who traveled through for trade since time immemorial. We seek to honor the history and the treaties of the land and her people, working towards allyship with our Indigenous relatives and respecting and honoring the land that supports us all. On behalf of our entire team at the Cglcc, I'm thrilled to be joining you for today's session on Supplier Diversity 101. Over the course of the next hour, we'll provide an overview of our Supplier Diversity program, and then we'll hear from two Supplier Diversity champions, Victor Harris from Northern Commerce, a Cglcc certified supplier, and Catherine Grosz of Corporate Membership, Manager of Corporate Membership at Women Business Enterprises Canada. There we go. Let's start today by chatting a little bit about the state of LGBT+ entrepreneurship in Canada. In 2020, the Cglcc retained Deloitte LLP to design, administer, and analyze a survey of 192 LGBT+ owned, operated, and controlled companies. These companies were founded by self-identified LGBT+ community members across Canada. This analysis was enabled by funding from the Government of Canada to the Cglcc. The study concluded that there are over 100,000 LGBTQ+ businesses in Canada. Our businesses generate over $5 billion in gross corporate revenue, and LGBT+ businesses employ about 435,000 full-time and part-time employees. That's approximately the population of Halifax. We now know that small businesses are the backbone of the Canadian economy. They are the shops, restaurants, and galleries, and countless others that give our communities life and vibrancy. They are the manufacturers, innovators, and exporters that drive local economies, and we now know that LGBT+ entrepreneurs and business owners represent a significant component of Canada's small and medium enterprise landscape. That same study found that the profile of LGBTQ2+ entrepreneurs tends to be quite unique. They were more likely to be self-employed, they are younger, they serve more domestic markets, and are more likely to employ and work with other diverse-owned businesses. However, there are barriers that are preventing LGBTQ2+ entrepreneurs from fully participating in the Canadian economy. The study found that 35% of LGBT+ businesses surveyed have been harassed for identifying as LGBT+ owned company. 39% stated they have lost business opportunities because of their LGBT+ ownership. 33% have purposely hid the fact that their company has LGBT+ ownership, and 34% of businesses have faced discrimination. 21% stated they have faced challenges succeeding abroad due to their LGBT+ status. We know that these barriers are preventing LGBT+ businesses from fully participating in the Canadian economy, and in turn, that is impacting Canada's economic activity. Particularly, as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, it's absolutely crucial that we have a truly inclusive recovery. Cglcc's Supplier Diversity program is working to remove those barriers. And that being said, 41% of businesses surveyed said that there was value in publicly promoting their LGBT+ ownership. One of those values is the opportunity to join a coalition of diverse suppliers and gain access to corporate procurement opportunities through a Supplier Diversity certification program. Let's take a moment to do a brief recap of Supplier Diversity and Cglcc's role. Cglcc certifies Canadian for-profit entities that are at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by a member of the LGBTQ2+ community. Then we connect these LGBTQ2+ certified suppliers with corporate and government members who are actively looking to diversify their supply chains by working more closely with underrepresented groups. Supplier diversity is a strategy aimed at providing diverse and minority-owned businesses an equal opportunity to become suppliers to major corporations. It's an initiative by corporations to ensure that they are being inclusive in their supply chain practices to suppliers of diverse backgrounds, while at the same time capitalizing on the opportunity for competitive advantages and community engagement that comes from working with a broader range of diverse and minority-owned businesses. It's defined as reaching out to groups traditionally not included in the supply chain or within the purchasing process of corporations. Some of these underrepresented groups include members of the LGBTQ2+ community, women, visible minorities, Indigenous peoples, as well as disabled and veteran-owned and operated businesses. Supplier diversity requires implementing a process to identify, certify, and match suppliers to procurement opportunities. To qualify for certification, a business must be at least 51% owned and operated by a member of the identified diverse group. Many multinational corporations require supplier diversity and require supplier diversity efforts from their Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. That being said, supplier diversity is neither a social program or a compromise that participating companies will secure business from participating corporations. It's also not a compromise on quality, cost, or service requirements. In short, supplier diversity is not a guarantee, it's a seat at the table. It's a market access opportunity. Again, the purpose of those supplier diversity programs is to connect diverse suppliers with participating corporate and government members to advance purchasing and procurement opportunities. Cglcc has been building LGBTQ2+ diversity in Canada since 2012 and officially launched the program at the LGBT Supplier Diversity Forum during World Pride in 2014 in Toronto, with the goal of certifying and matching LGBT+ suppliers with the growing number of corporations proactively seeking to diversify their supply chains. We are also a member of a broader coalition called Supplier Diversity Alliance Canada, or SDAC. Each member representing a different diverse constituency. Along with the Cglcc, the members of the SDAC are WBE Canada, the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council, and Inclusion Workplace and Supply Council of Canada. The members certify for-profit entities that are at least 51% owned, operated, controlled by a member of their respective constituency, and connect them with purchasing and procurement opportunities with government and corporate members. Let's take a brief look at the history of supplier diversity. Supplier diversity in this country is largely driven by corporate Canada through organizations like EY, TD, RBC, TELUS, and Kellogg's, coincidentally also the founding members of the Cglcc's Supplier Diversity Program. The Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion's 2018 research on supplier diversity in Canada found that larger organizations in the private sector with headquarters or operations in the United States are more likely to engage in supplier diversity initiatives. Additionally, the research found that organizations with an established diversity and inclusion policy or strategy, as well as those with established corporate social responsibility or sustainability mandates, are more likely to be engaged in supplier diversity. The same research found that 43% of organizations with a diversity and inclusion policy were engaged in supplier diversity, and 35% of organizations listed as Canada's best diversity employers in 2015 had supplier diversity mandates. Contrast this to the United States, where supplier diversity is largely government-driven. In fact, a law passed by Congress in 1986 required companies under contract with the federal government to source a minimum of 5% of each contract from minority-owned business enterprises. That's where we began to see a significant growth for supplier diversity in North America. Supplier diversity is growing in Canada. Cglcc has over 55 government and corporate members representing a broad range of purchasing areas, looking to work with certified suppliers. And corporations with an established supplier diversity program see numerous advantages, including increased business value. The top factor for awarding contracts to diverse suppliers include enhanced or improved cost, flexibility, response times, creativity and innovation, and products and service quality. Now let's turn from the corporation to the supplier. In order to participate in a supplier diversity program, a business must become certified. Through certification, supplier diversity programs provide businesses with access and opportunities that historically a diverse-owned business may face systemic barriers accessing. Certified businesses gain access to corporate procurement opportunities and contracts, as well as guidance on how to work with the unique procurement process for corporate members. Again, I want to emphasize supplier diversity is not a guarantee, but a market access opportunity in an effort to reduce systemic barriers. In addition to registering with corporate members, diverse suppliers often build relationships with each other, doing business, partnerships, and collaboration. Certification also offers unique business development opportunities for suppliers, including enhanced competitiveness, unique branding and promotional opportunities, and the knowledge that you are supporting LGBTQ+ community economic development. So let's talk about the certification process and what happens after certification. For LGBT+ owned businesses, we can certify your Canadian for-profit entity that again is at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by a member of the LGBTQ+ community as an LGBTQ+ certified supplier, opening up significant opportunities. We provide onboarding, training, and regular professional development sessions on maximizing your certification. We connect LGBTQ+ certified suppliers with corporate and government members and direct LGBTQ+ certified suppliers on how to register and access their unique procurement process. And we, of course, promote our LGBTQ+ certified suppliers at every opportunity. Once you are certified, we share opportunities in the form of requests for proposals, procurements, networking, thought leadership, and learning opportunities. You will have access to the Cglcc portal, where you can build out your own certified supplier profile. Once you're certified, you'll be issued a certificate and branding that you can share at your own business's physical location as well as on your website. If you're contemplating certification, a reminder that it gives you access to a national database of top corporations with supplier diversity programs. You also can see the other suppliers and enhance your own sales opportunities to work B2B with other certified suppliers. There are many informal and formal opportunities, from our Meet the Buyer sessions, our matchmaking opportunities at our summit, opportunities to speak on panels, and more informal opportunities like interviews, podcasts, judging, or mentoring for some of our partnerships, or even having a chance to speak to our Procurement Advisory Council. We also provide educational opportunities. As much as we all try to be really good at all the parts of our business, there's always room for growth. And Cglcc offers diverse-owned businesses a chance to learn through webinars, training sessions, panels, thought leadership, and exclusive web content, including monthly educational and business development sessions and programs. Finally, I want to stress that being certified is a perfect way to push your business development plan forward and is a primary advantage of being part of the Cglcc. All the benefits, though, depend on your active participation. Being part of the Cglcc also gives you access to a supportive network of fellow diverse-owned businesses. Wherever you are on your journey, an entrepreneurial journey, Canada's LGBT+ Chamber of Commerce is here to help. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic has been an incredibly challenging time for all entrepreneurs in all sectors, in all parts of this country. But we also know that entrepreneurs are resilient. As an entrepreneur, you should be continuously looking to add tools to your toolbox and gathering resources that you can draw upon to grow your business and gain new market access opportunities. Supplier diversity is another tool to have in that toolbox. It's a solid way to differentiate your business from our competitors and connect with like-minded organizations committed to active voices in the ongoing supplier diversity and inclusion discussion. I'd like to bring on our panelists for this morning's conversation, Victor and Catherine. Victor is the sales manager at Northern Commerce. Come on up, Victor. One of Cglcc's certified suppliers and the winner of Cglcc's LGBT+ Business of the Year Award in 2021. Victor believes that inclusion and diversity helps strengthen internal corporate cultures and can also be used as a lens for aligning external business relationships. Victor is also the chair of Northern's DE&I committee, which continues to review and expand Northern's diversity initiatives. Catherine also joins us today from WBE Canada as the manager of corporate membership. Catherine was an integral in the growth of BMO's Enterprise Supplier Diversity Program since 2007 as their manager of supplier diversity. Catherine is a champion for supplier diversity growth in Canada and is widely respected and recognized across the country for her relentless drive to support diversity and inclusion and supplier diversity across Canada. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm going to have a seat with you now. Is that all right, Victor?
Appreciate it, of course.
So just before we dive into our discussion, I'd like to note that we will have time for a brief Q&A before the end of our presentation. So if you're joining us virtually, please use the chat function to ask any questions that you may have. Catherine, I'm going to start the first question with you. So we get to see a lot of certified suppliers who get confused or sometimes even frustrated with the internal corporate procurement process. Many of them are looking for that magic fix, as it were, so they are consistently winning that RFP. Now, we know that there's no magic fix-all, but can you share some tips and tricks and some do's and don'ts to our current and potential suppliers?
Absolutely. Thank you, AJ. And thank you, Cglcc, for inviting me to speak today. And congratulations on all that you do for the LGBT plus community. It's been a while, and I am so happy to be back. So thank you for this opportunity. Kindly allow me to preface before I start speaking and answering questions here that what you're about to hear from me is my personal opinion after 15 years of being in the supplier diversity space, both in the corporate sector and in with WBE Canada as a certifying organization. And it's my opinion. If you talk to other corporates, you may even find out more from them. But let's step back. Number one, if I had any advice about this there's no quick fix, we know. But if I have any advice on how to get through this, I would say, number one, be patient, but stay in touch. It could take years to get through the door, depending on your product or services. But don't give up with that corporate. Stay in touch with corporates through events, newsletters, or updates. Anything new, stay connected with them. Never nag, all right? Find out how everyone would like to stay in touch. Some individuals prefer emails or social media or even the telephone. Everyone is different. So it's always ask how best to stay in touch with you. And if you have a newsletter for your company, ask if they would like to receive this newsletter and sign up for it. When you are patient, showing up at events and webinars, and you have met the corporate, don't be shy to say hello and remind them where you met them or last had a conversation with them when you meet up with them again at another event or in a conversation. You know, the outcome of that could be business, winning their business, and your performance, pricing, and service levels, if they are good, of course. Often there will be opportunity for them to find you more opportunity within their organization. If you're doing work for a corporate today and you know they have a supplier diversity program, let the corporate know. Let them know who you're working with within their organization. Again, this is opportunities that could open up the door for more business within that corporate. I'd say number two is understand each corporate's priority in business. Do your homework. I can't express that enough. Never ask what a corporate can do for you. Show the corporate that you know their business better than they do. Remember that you're likely talking to the individual that does not purchase the goods or services for their organization. Often they don't know where the product or service you are offering is procured within their own organization. That now goes back to the be prepared and armed with information. When a supplier can tell a corporate who in my organization or the correct group of individuals to speak with pertaining to your product or service, that is valuable information for that corporate to be able to support your ask going forward. Here's a tough one. Get registered in their portals. I know, lots and lots of portals to get registered in. I know, everyone's rolling their eyes right now at me. I can't see you, but I can just imagine it. They're rolling your eyes. But it is important to each corporate because each corporate have requirements for their buyers within their organization that they need to see in order to even invite you in to have the conversation with their buyers. So those portals really are important. You're welcome, corporates, by the way, if any of you are watching, because I know how important these portals are to you as well. Number three, be in attendance and be prepared. I can't say that enough. Attend events as such as this one and others as they come your way. Be seen, be remembered. okay? A lot of preparation goes into these events, and you need to show up. Corporates are there to talk to you and meet you. They're taking their time out of their busy schedules to come in and meet with you, okay? Be prepared to pitch to corporates. I say no longer than 30 seconds because research has shown that by the time you first start talking, it kind of goes in one ear, and within 10 to 15 seconds, it's coming out the other ear. So know who you're pitching to. Be specific on how your company can support that corporate. Or you may meet a corporate you didn't do your research on. That's okay too. You know, just introduce your name, the company, your company. Ask them the question, do you buy blank, whatever it is your product or service is? I'll use widgets as an example here. And if they say yes, they buy widgets, talk about how you serve, how you sell widgets to other corporates. Who in the corporations you deal with, your service levels, deliverables, geographical footprint, and anything else you think may be pertinent to your corporate, to the corporates you work with today. Give them a quick snapshot on who you are and how you can support their company. Now you've met your corporates. Going forward, again, don't forget to say hello at events. I like to share with you a little bit of what I like to do when I meet anyone at an event. And in that first meeting, I try to jot down something we had in a conversation. So whether it was a discussion around shoes, clothing, children, life, cheesecake, you know, whatever it is, I jot it down to say, okay, I met with Daryl, and this is a true story, Daryl Sherman, and we had a quick call and talk about cheesecake and who has the best cheesecake in the Greater Toronto area, and we both had sort of the same cheesecake. And so, you know, we kept in touch that way, and I'd get an email, hey, you know, Catherine, I went to such and such, oh, way better than the cheesecake we had at such and such, or whatever it might be. It's another way to keep in touch, and when you have that first meeting, you can say, hey, how are the kids doing? Or, hey, how are those purple awesome shoes doing? Whatever it might be. So just a little tip on, you know, in that first meeting with anyone, try to find a little tidbit about them that you can carry on conversations with them.
Well,
thank you
so much.
Any great cheesecake.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And you can talk to me about cheesecake anytime you like. My partner will let you know that I have a weakness for baked goods. They seem to disappear in our house, so anytime.
Sorry.
Victor, would you like to jump in there on this topic?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, really being from that supplier side, you know, my role on it is a little bit different. We've been really fortunate where we've been a certified diverse supplier since 2018, and it's really held a lot of value to us. But it's also, you know, part of the core of who we are as a business. We believe in inclusivity, and we know that's something that's really important to us, and we're looking to align with people that have that same type of drive, that same type of vision. The reality that I found is I've been doing this for probably about 13 years at this stage is that a lot of organizations are embracing that component a little bit more. AJ said a little bit earlier when he gave his presentation that, you know, this certification is just one of those tools in your toolbox. If it is a tool that will help you get your seat at the table, make sure you take advantage of that opportunity. You know, Catherine said don't nag. Catherine said quite a few other great recommendations there, but that's really what it is. The certification is your first step. But once you get there, you also need to make sure you can explain how are you going to add value. Why would they actually want to, you know, disrupt their existing supply chain to give your organization a chance? So it's not a magic pill. It is definitely an opportunity to get you a seat at the table, but you also need to do your research first, similar to what Catherine said. From our perspective, what we've seen is we've seen that landscape change just even over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. Where now, you know, that's become part of that evaluation criteria as you're going through those RFP processes and other things as well. As organizations are looking out, it's almost like a series of checkboxes that I'm seeing more and more now, where it's like, hey, we're really looking to increase our diversity spend. Do you meet any of this criteria? So it's really becoming more formalized over the last few years, and it's really, you know, due to the work that a lot of the organizations that AJ mentioned earlier are doing to make sure that all of us in this room get that seat at the table and are able to progress and move forward. So, you know, be patient, be proactive, make sure you've done your research, and, you know, in time, things will definitely come to fruition. So that's really my recommendation, and that's how we've been able to be successful based on our certification.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. I guess I'd like to ask the next question to both of you as well. Sure. Victor, I'll start with you this time. So we know that being part of a certified diversity program takes a lot of work and consistency. So it's generally the long game versus that instant win that we've been talking about already. Can you share some success stories that you've been part of or heard of within the supplier diversity landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, going back to what I said earlier, it's just that, more organizations are willing to open up the doors, especially surprisingly, very large organizations are willing to open up the doors. For myself personally and for our team at Northern, we've made a really conscious effort to engage the Cglcc to say, hey, we are certified. What doors can you open for us? What introductions can you actually make to really help us, again, get that seat at the table? And through those efforts and through being very consistent, we've had the opportunity to participate in things like the RBC Certified Diverse Supplier Mentor Program. And through that program, it was an open door view to go into their organization, understand how all of those departments work, but understand how us as a certified diverse supplier, where do we integrate? Where do we fit? How can we add value? And to have that two-way dialogue, which you really don't get. I feel like sometimes when you're going through an RFP, sometimes when you're really looking to get into that organization, you don't get that two-way dialogue. It's more so you're pitching your services over a fence, you're hoping it's going to resonate, but more large organizations are opening those doors so that you can ask them hey, I've been trying to reach out to you, I've been trying to do business with you, can you tell me some of the rationale or some of the things that you're looking for, some of those business drivers, so that I make sure when I do my pitch, it resonates, so that when I do my pitch, it's going to get to the right voices. And when you're getting into large organizations, say similar to RBC, there's just so many people, there's just so many divisions. Even having the opportunity to ask them, based on my set of services, who is the best person for me to talk to first, and where can my services really fit in? So having a mentor that was able to understand the entire landscape, and then to give us some strong direction, and also be able to do some introductions. I think nothing with the certification is passive. Everything with the certification needs to be active. You need to take that first step forward. You need to reach out. You need to make sure you understand the rules, the protocols. You need to understand what those, all the vendor portals that Catherine talked about, what do those portals look like? Do we actually fit the criteria in order to be a vendor as well? So, having those opportunities through the Cglcc about how we can get more insights from larger organizations has been really successful. So we appreciate all the work that your team's doing for us as a vendor, and I know for many of you in this room as well.
Well, it's our pleasure. We're here to do it. We're here for our certified suppliers. So,
appreciate it.
So while I am anyway, I get so many emails every day from our certified suppliers. I love connecting with everyone. I'd say that's about 90% of my job is connection and staying connected. So it's my pleasure. It's our pleasure. Catherine, I'll throw it to you now. Would you like to share success that you've been part of or witnessed in the supplier diversity landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, AJ. So just this week, I heard from a organized, certified organization, a supplier who I'd been working with probably over the last 7-8 years, that they just landed some contracts with BMO, where I was at. Nice email from them, letting me know their success and letting me know that, and thanking me for all the work I did when I was at BMO. Some of our sourcing managers within BMO would come to us and come to me when I was there as supplier diversity manager and tell me about one of our current suppliers who could qualify to be certified. I have the conversation, they get certified, and now we're looking at doing more business with that certified supplier so that they can become more entrenched in our supplier diversity program and our reporting processes. So again, it goes back to, if you are working with a corporate today, let them know, because sometimes they just don't know, and those are where the doors can open up and more opportunity open up for you and your company.
And I think that's a really great point there, Catherine, is that a lot of, especially from yourself at WBE Canada and Cglcc as well, is it's for the managers of supplier diversity out there, it's a tough pull to find LGBT owned and operated businesses. You can't just look them up in the yellow pages, right? So it's really quite a big networking piece there where if, we lean on our other certified suppliers, we lean on our corporates to say, hey, listen, if you come across a supplier that you think should be certified, send them our way. That's our biggest stream of recruitment and bringing in new suppliers. So that definitely as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for both of that. And we're running just a little bit behind, but I do want to ask these questions. We've got some time here still. So on that same vein, Catherine, I'll start with you on this question. On that same vein, there are really few instant wins in supplier diversity. And Victor, I'm going to ask this to you actually. My apologies. Bad notes, bad
Sure.
moderator. So I'm going to start again. On that same vein, because there are few instant wins in supplier diversity, what should certified suppliers be doing to maximize their certification?
Absolutely, and I know that time's running a little bit short, so I'll keep it really short. I've said this. I think it's been consistent across all of my answers, and it's really been about being active. Coming to events like this, making sure you're reaching out, making sure that we as a community are supporting each other in terms of finding opportunities. It's really about, Cglcc has a lot of resources that are available. So being proactive, I don't think anything's going to come from being passive. I've had an opportunity to do some great workshops, some speaking engagements, to meet with, the Procurement Advisory Council. So you need to really take that step forward, and then they're the ones who are going to be able to open up doors for you. Something else that's really important as well is that you need to make sure that, if something new is happening within your organization, if your services have changed, if you're able to add additional value, that you're also letting people know that, and you're also following up on a consistent basis. I think some of our best successes has really been about the doors that are initially opened up here, the meetings that we're able to have after that, and making sure you're setting up some type of, consistent cadence around, hey, this is how our organization is continuing to grow. This is some things that might be of value to you, whether that's a newsletter, whether that's a cadence, through an email, through a phone call, or what have you. So it's really about, understanding where you can add value in that supply chain, understanding, why an organization would want to disrupt their supply chain to actually bring you in, and then understanding, what doors are available using your certification to get to that next step.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Victor. Catherine, let's talk a little bit about Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers. Mm-hmm. So is there something to be said about going for that quote-unquote big fish too soon? And should suppliers be working their way up to that?
So no, don't go for the big fish too soon if you're not qualified or available to do such. You may be able to go for that big fish on maybe a smaller community base. If you're a small company, you may be able to go for that big fish. You really need to do your homework again and have a look at what those corporate members are looking for. And if they're looking for, say, something around IT consulting or, and they have a managed service provider who provides those services to them, that's an opportunity for them to do an introduction to their managed service provider who does their staffing for them, and make that introduction, and you could become a Tier 2 to the corporate. Now, we've been there, done that, and we've been very successful in having one of the Tier 2s come in as a Tier 1 with their programs into the organization. So the premise of being able to get in as a Tier 2, prove yourself, prove your company, and the companies say, well, why do I need to hire this company through the managed service provider, if your contract allows it, of course, and then bringing them in under a Tier 1 program. Corporations in general, best practices, always looking for Tier 1. Tier 1 being you, the certified supplier, coming in under contract to the corporate, okay? The second part of that is the Tier 2 direct spend. So Tier 2 direct spend being working with my managed service provider and asking under my contract with them to bring in qualified, certified suppliers to do business under our contract with them. I hope this is making sense. There's a third scenario called Tier 2 indirect spend. I don't even want to get into that right now. But again, so there's the three scenarios. So don't always go for where do you fit? Some suppliers come to me and say, I know I'm only a tier 2. And I will always only be a tier 2 because that's my business, going to large corporates and providing them with X. So just try to understand where you fit or where you even want to grow. And maybe you do fit in a tier 1, maybe you fit in a tier 2. But you need to, again, and I think we've heard it from Victor, to take a look at who do you fit with to provide products and services. But don't be discouraged if you're only under the tier 2. This is a great opportunity for you to grow your business and be recognized. Back to you, AJ.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you both for joining me today for this discussion. It's been really enlightening, not only for me, but I'm sure for the folks in the room and joining virtually as well. So I'd like to open it up for questions now from the room, and I believe we're going to get some questions up here from our virtual chat as well. So I'll open it up to the floor first, and then if there's a question virtually that we could get as well. So let's see if is there any questions on the floor? Yeah, over here.
Hi. Okay. Hi, my name is Rebecca. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm a marketing coordinator at Arab. So I'm actually coming from this on a corporate perspective. So it's really great to hear how diverse suppliers have their own systems and approaches to contacting us. But I'm curious if we can flip that around for a moment and just see what an experience has been like for you, specifically you, Victor, I suppose, because you're coming from a certified diverse supplier. But what has it been like when corporate firms approach you directly, and how can that be the most successful experience for both parties?
Sure, I'm happy to speak to that. What I found over, again, been about 13 years of doing this, is that procurement teams are actually really happy to talk to you. And I don't know where it's been said that they're not, but I remember when I first started doing business with the University of Toronto, it's like, why do you only call me when there's an active procurement going on? Why don't we have a bit of a discussion in terms of what are the opportunities and really where we can work together? So I think that from our perspective, hearing from an organization, understanding their criteria, understanding what their procurement thresholds are, understanding what they're looking for in terms of diverse suppliers, understanding how they're trying to grow that spend is also really important as well. So we're looking for not a series of checkboxes, but we're looking for some way that we can slot it in some way that we can really add value. So the best conversations I've had with procurement teams have been very, very open and very conversation about, here's some of the experiences I've had with XYZ company, and I'll maybe list about 4 or 5 companies based on, my research of the brand that I'm going to talk to. These are some ways that we can work together. And then it's more of a clarification around, does it make sense? Should we come in as a tier 2? Do we actually qualify for a tier 1? From our perspective is that, we've done a lot of tier 2 work with people that were tier 1, but knowing that the tier 2 work will be more executional, so maybe that's where we needed to go. And the tier 1 work has been more so, do we have that right financial stability, or do we also check off all the things that you need as an organization, for example, around security clearance, around even legal and contracting, around insurance. We need to make sure that we have those things as well. So it's understanding what your needs are and understanding how we fit. So yeah, anytime a procurement team is going to reach out to a certified diverse supplier, just have a really open conversation to help them understand where they can fit and where they can add value to your organization.
Yeah, and I think that there's been a bit of a shift in that landscape, in that space, in that. And correct me if I'm wrong here, because okay. you've been in the supplier diversity game longer than I have. But looking back, there's that more onus put on the corporate to actually have those active participation, active conversations, to actively participate versus just, yeah, come on, have them send me an email, or I'm looking for this. It's become more of a community discussion.
It's definitely become more of a community discussion, but from our perspective, we also need to be proactive around it as well. Is that are there lists that we can get on? Are there organizations that we want to work with that have some type of diversity, supplier growth, spend, or anything else like that? So we still need to be proactive. I think it's not a rarity, but it's less common that suppliers are reaching out to us unless we're involved in some type of group or format similar to the one that we're in today. Is that how do you actually identify the people that qualify? So being certified, being able to reach out to the Cglcc, see a list of vendors that might be a good fit, and then as a corporation reaching out to them is a fantastic way to start. But we need to get registered on that list first.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for that question. Are there other questions in the audience today? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I've lost my mic pack here.
Hi there, my name is Jamin Patel, pronouns are he and him, and I'm representing Schulich School of Business. I'm still a student, but I'm very intrigued by the topic of supplier diversity. And I have a question to Catherine. So over your entire career trajectory, what has been the biggest learning curve that you've had when it comes to dealing with clients, dealing with customers on the side, and in terms of just consulting or mentoring anybody who's getting into this landscape?
Gemma, thank you for that question. It's an amazing question. And it took a while, but one of my biggest learning curves when speaking with certified suppliers is to be honest. All cards on the table. Here's who we are. Here's what we do. And, if I don't buy your product or service, I'm going to let you know. If there's no opportunity for me to buy your product or service, I'm going to let you know. I've learned that suppliers have appreciated the honesty on what's available to them. I'm not going to tell you, oh, well, let's talk in another 6 months, when I know full well we just signed a contract for 5 years for that product or service you're trying to, sell to me. I'm not going to keep you running. Go find corporates who need your services right now, and keep us in mind in 3 to 5 years. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep talking. Anything can happen in the meeting. So that honesty and making sure that all our cards are on the table for exactly what we do and what we procure and how we do it and what we don't procure. Does that help?
Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for that. And thank you for that question. Any other questions from the floor today? No? Do we have any questions from our virtual team there? Or virtual group? No? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Just over in red here.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jazz, and coming from JLL, I'm actually in the corporate world and in procurement. And understanding that from an organization that's trying to put a program together, we tend to, like you were mentioning earlier, we tend to want to have these discussions and put preferred supplier agreements together even before we go out to RFP. But from a supplier's perspective, I'd really like to hear, what can we do better as organizations to reach out? What can we do different? Even though that you see the platform changing, is there something that you could talk about that makes us more approachable, for instance? I mean, we've always been looked at, I've been in procurement for many, many years. And I find that in the past before, we tend to kind of shut that door because we're so busy. Usually we're not reaching out unless there's an opportunity. But now that we've gone out of that realm and we're now trying to make sure we're speaking to diverse suppliers and we're trying to put those agreements together, there may not be an opportunity. Yes, there needs to be that patience. But is there something more that corporations can do to reach out to suppliers to make those doors even wider?
Is this directed at me?
Sure.
Potentially?
Sure.
I'm happy to answer first, and then obviously Catherine can jump in after that as well. I think it's around creating opportunities for dialogue, and I think that's something that's really been a challenge as a supplier, because I'm actively looking for those opportunities to meet organizations like yourself, to meet other organizations who want to increase their pool, and it's just not that simple to find. So I don't know if there's a better way that we can have more either forums or workshops or even open dialogues where multiple corporations come together to have some type of interview. Like I think about the matchmaking opportunity that's coming up tomorrow even, and it's just, that pointed conversation with different companies that are looking for different things is really, really helpful. It's more so, how can we get more of those opportunities, and where should those opportunities live? What is the conduit to get those opportunities? Because as a corporation, you're trying to get engaged with us as a supplier, and as a supplier, we're also trying to make sure that we have those matchmaking opportunities with you as well. And there are very few common forums where that's available, and I think the Cglcc does a great job. Things like matchmaking opportunities do a great job. Or if your organization can do some type of, maybe not a global ask, but some type of ask, like, we're looking for diverse suppliers. If you are a certified diverse supplier, we would love to talk to you, and set up some times where that's available in a large group so that, your stakeholders aren't stretched. That would be really helpful as well. I wish that more corporations were more proactive, that they're actually looking to increase that spend, and then you would find a lot of diverse suppliers coming forward and attending those sessions, because equally we have some great brands that we would love to work with, but it's just there's no conduit. Does that help?
And just before I pass that over to Catherine, I think one of the biggest things from a chamber side, working with our suppliers, is definitely the phrase "be available" comes into play there. When the chamber, or any certifying body for that matter, does a matchmaking event, does a networking event, be available, be present, participate. And you will meet our suppliers. Our suppliers are very eager to meet our corporates and our corporate partners, and any corporate for that matter. Even if a procurement opportunity isn't immediately right, or it isn't immediately available, making that connection is probably the most important thing. Putting a face to the name, as well as if you're a member of a certifying body or a chamber. We send out, for example, a corporate newsletter where we congratulate new certified suppliers. We let you know who's new in our program. And if there's someone who stands out to you, send us an email back saying, I'd love to set up a one-on-one with this supplier. Be active, be present, be available. Catherine, did you want to add anything there?
Very well said by both of you, by the way. I would just add one more thing. Similar to all of the recommendations to work with corporates, for suppliers to work with corporates need to do the same. Corporates need to make sure that they're showing up at events. Corporates need to make sure that they're participating in any roundtables, matchmaker events with all of the councils, and making sure that they have a process in place to follow up. Often I'd go to an event and I meet lots of suppliers, but there's just that one or two suppliers that might really stand out for me, and I'll just make a little note, and I'll go back and do my homework. So I too have to do my homework on who I'm meeting at these matchmakers as the corporate, do my homework, and make sure that I understand what you do, understand where you fit within my own organization as well. And that will support a more fulfilling and prosperous opportunity between the supplier and the corporate together. That'd be my little tidbit of advice.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you so much. It was Jazz for that question. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jazz. Well, folks, we're 2 minutes from our time here, so I think we'll just take this moment to wrap up. Thank you, Catherine, Victor. Thank you so much for joining me on stage today. Catherine, it's been a pleasure. I hope that one day we get to meet in person at one of these events. And thank you all for joining us today, whether that was in person or virtually. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.